Adjacent angles, two angles that have a common side, which we see in both of the pictures, but no common interior. In other words, their interior doesn't overlap. Angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent. Ray BC is their common side. Angle ABC and angle CBD are adjacent angles. Questions about what it means to be adjacent? Yep.
How can you tell if the angles don't match up? Like, 'cause on the ABC, the lines on one is like.
Oh, well, I just decided to do them in the same color, but I could have done this. If you're writing with a pencil, okay, if by chance you're writing with a pencil, it's hard to denote color change, isn't it? But if I wanted to show that they had no common interior, if I put my interior like this on one, and I put my interior like this on the other one, if they overlapped, what would happen? You'd kind of get a checkered spot in one place. So that's why I did it, just because I used the same color. Make sense? Vertical angles. Two angles formed by intersecting lines. Which one of the pictures is going to have vertical angles in it? The first one or the second one? The first one, because those have lines, and this one has a line and two rays. But are not adjacent. So, in this picture, if I said angle 1, and I'm looking for the angle that it's vertical to it. It can't be 2 or 4 because they're what?
They're adjacent.
They're adjacent. So if it's not 2 or 4, what has to be its vertical?
3.
Angle 3.
Also congruent.
Vertical angles are always congruent. Whatever the measure of angle 1 is, the measure of angle 3 is the same. If I told you angle 1 was 100 degrees, angle 3 is what? 100 degrees. The other pair of vertical angles would be 2 and 4. And instead of marking this with one line, I'm going to mark them with 2, showing they're not the same as 1 and 3, but they are the same as each other. And in fact, because I told you angle 1 was 100 degrees, you should know what 2 and 4 are. They are both 80. And if you don't see how I know that, there's a straight line. That's 180 degrees. So if I've used up 100 of it, the other piece had to be 80. Everybody see it? Be careful when you come to a picture like this one. There are a tremendous amount of people, because angle 5 looks about the same as angle 7. They want to call these two angles vertical. They're not adjacent, but why aren't they vertical?
Maybe vertical at angle 6 was a right angle, but we don't know that it is.
Nope.
It's because the lines are intersecting.
Because it's not formed by two what? Two lines. This is formed by a line and two separate rays. I don't know any relationship between 5 and 7. I don't know. Just because they look like they're equal, I can't make that assumption. And even if they put this in as a right angle, could I say angle 5 and 7 then were both 45 degrees? Not for sure. One could be 44.9 and the other one could be 45.1. I wouldn't be able to see the difference. Don't assume that two things are equal, even if they look like they might be. Everybody understand what it means to be vertical? Complementary and supplementary. I don't know why this always seems to be a problem, but every year I run across this. People remember that complementary and supplementary mean two angles that add up to 90, two angles that add up to 180, but for one reason or another, they don't remember which one is which. I have a solution. Alphabetize complementary and supplementary. Which comes first? Which comes first on a number line, 90 or 180? 90. There is no reason to get the two confused. Complement means two angles whose sum equals 90. Two angles. The sum equals 90 degrees. In fact, if this was in a word problem, the minute I see the word complementary, I write blank plus blank equals 90. Because I know that I'm going to take two things, I'm going to add them together, and it's going to end up at 90 degrees. The minute I read that word, I put that in that problem. Supplement. Two angles, and the sum is 180. The minute I read this word in a word problem, I write blank plus blank equals 180. They are going to give you information about those two angles, and you're going to put that information in those two blank spots, period. It's like learning a formula. Once you learn that trick about complementary and supplementary, you should never miss a complementary and supplementary problem. Now, in the past, there's also been confusion about the fact some people think that complementary means that they have to be adjacent to each other, like they are in this picture. I mean, I can tell that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 90 degrees because they've put that little mark there in the corner. So angle 1 and angle 2 are complementary. But the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B still equals 90 degrees, doesn't it? So A and B are also what? Complementary. It has nothing to do with where they're located. It only has to do with what they're equal to. So here's my next question. Can three angles be complementary?
It's two angles.
It says in the definition, how many angles? Two. Three angles can add up to 90 degrees, but we would not call those three angles complementary. To be complementary, it's always how many angles? Two. Everybody okay with complement and supplement? Again, if you get confused about 90 and 180, alphabetize them. Complement comes before supplement. Put them in numeric order. 90 comes before 180. Complement goes with 90. Supplement goes with 180. Linear pair. Pair implies two. We're talking about angles, so two angles. That form a, what do you think it's going to form? A line. It says linear. They're going to form a line. Linear pairs always have this property. Linear pairs are always supplementary. In other words, they're always going to add up to equal 180 degrees. One of the two pictures has a linear pair. Which one? The first one or the second one? The first one does. I can see that I have two angles, angle PQR and angle RQS. And I can see that when I put those two together that they form a straight line. By the way, linear pairs will always also be adjacent. They'll always be next to each other. The measure of angle PQR plus the measure of angle RQS, because they're supplementary, has to equal what? 180 degrees. What can you tell me about the two angles that are on the right?
They aren't linear.
They're not linear. What are they, though? They are adjacent, and that's really about all you can tell me about them. I don't know that they have equal measurements or anything like that, but I do know that they are adjacent. Questions about a linear pair? Angle bisector. A ray or line that cuts an angle into two congruent parts. If I take a look at the picture that they gave me, ray BC bisects angle ABD. I can tell that it bisects it because angle ABC is the same or congruent to angle CBD. If you see angle bisector and they've not put congruent markings in your picture, put those markings in the picture. It's going to help you solve that problem. Everybody good with angle bisector? Some examples then. And before we actually do the examples, we're going to put a name out beside there of the types of angles that we see in the picture. These two angles, they are supplementary, but they form a linear pair. I do know because they form a linear pair that they are supplementary. So 2x plus 24 plus 4x plus 36 equals 180. That's all the geometry that's in it. Everything left is what? Combining the like terms, 4x and 2x, 6x, 24 and 36, 60. Getting rid of the 60, I now have 6x equals 120, and divide by 6. X is 20. No, but if you plug it back in, 2 times 20 plus 24. That's 40 plus 24 is 64. 4 times 20, which is 80, plus 36, which is 116, 116 and 64, 180. In the next picture, what do we see? It's an angle bisector. In fact, what ray is the angle bisector? Ray FL is the angle bisector. Because it is an angle bisector, what can you tell me about the 7y minus 1 and the 55? They're equal to each other. So we set them equal. That takes care of the geometry. We're going to add 1 to both sides. I now have 7y equals 56. And I divide both sides by 7. I get y is equal to 8. Next picture. It is another angle bisector. What's the bisector? Ray XY. So I know that 3x plus 32 equals 9x minus 4. Putting my x's together, I now have 32 equals 6x minus 4. Adding 4, I now have 36 equals 6x. So when I divide by 6, I get x is equal to 6. Last picture. What is it? But it is a linear pair. If they ask you to name the angle type, they'd be looking for linear pair, not supplementary. That supplementary is more of a property of the angle than it is a name for it. Yes?
You already know that 9x minus 10 equals 80.
I could do it that way, yes. But to make sure that we're doing it consistently, because sometimes it wouldn't be so obvious, we'd take 100 plus 9x minus 10 equals what? 180. I do know that I'm going to combine my like terms. 9x plus 90 equals 180. Subtracting 90. 9x is equal to 90, which means x is equal to 10. If I did plug that back in here, you can see that this is going to come up equal to 80 degrees, which I should have been able to look at and figure out anyway.
So is this on the quiz tomorrow also?
No. Here's what's on the quiz tomorrow. 1, 2, 1, 3, and 1, 7. Remember that 1, 2, and 1, 3 were about naming points, lines, planes. What's collinear? What's coplanar? 1, 3 actually talked about distance and midpoint on a number line and segment addition. In other words, if B is between A and C, AB plus BC equals AC. Part of the segment plus the rest of the segments equal to the whole thing. 1, 7 was distance and midpoint on the coordinate plane, and you need to know those formulas. It's too late to ask me what they are tomorrow. You need to have them memorized. If you don't, practice them, study them. Okay? I am here after school through 7th period, obviously, every day. If somebody needs me to stay after 7th period, I'd ask that you make an appointment. If somebody would like to maybe meet during lunchtime on a day, I would ask that you make an appointment. 50 minutes is a lot of time for lunch for me. I came from a middle school, and we literally had maybe 18 minutes by the time we got the kids to the cafeteria and you went and picked them up. You maybe have had 18 minutes to eat. So if you need some extra time, I gladly would help people. Obviously, during 7th period, I'm in here. Come find me. If you want help during lunch, I'll gladly help you during lunch. But it would help if I knew about it ahead of time. Now, if you have signed up for Remind 101,